The A7 II Army is growing like wildfire. So if you're just getting one, or you want to go over your settings to make sure you can maximize your potential with this bad boy, then you come to the right place. Let's get it. What's good, creative fam? It's your boy JustBWise, and today we're gonna walk through. My daughter's coming. Bum, bum, bum. So as I was saying, we're gonna go ahead and walk through some of the settings. I really hope y'all don't click away because my daughter came in, but if you do, you do. So what I was trying to say is we're gonna walk through some of the settings so that you guys can maximize what you got to camera, something like that. She's still yelling. Let's get into it. Now, we're mainly gonna focus on 2 seconds. We're gonna talk about the camera settings and the custom settings, only because those are really the only things that you really need to have set correctly based off of your preference of how you're gonna shoot. My daughter is banging bowling pins over here, so, and she's screaming, so I'm sorry. All right, so we're just gonna skip right over the aspect ratio because that's just kind of personal preference. So you can do with that as you please, whether you want to do 3:2 or 16:9. Do what you want. When it comes to quality, I have my quality set at RAW. I typically shoot all of my photos in RAW, but that's because I do a lot of editing. If you plan on editing your photos in Lightroom or Photoshop, stuff like that, it's probably best to shoot in RAW because you're gonna get a lot more data in the image. So when you go to manipulate it, you have a lot more room to play with. However, if you don't plan on doing a lot of heavy editing, then, and you want to save space on your hard drive or with your memory cards, then JPEG will be the way to go. However, don't just shoot in whatever JPEG. You want to still get the biggest file size that you can fit. So I would say find out what you have space for and then work down from there. So if I were to shoot in JPEG, I would more than likely shoot in the X-Fine quality. And then when you go to image size, work your way down from large 24M. And then if you have a smaller card or you have smaller space and you want to just work your way down, you're also going to be working your way down as far as quality the lower you go. Now, when it comes to the video formatting, what you want to do is use the, hold on, I got to read this because I can't remember exactly, XAVC-S, and that's going to give you the highest video quality. Now, just like in the conversation we had earlier about the RAW versus JPEG, if you need smaller file size, then there are other formats you can shoot in, like MP4 or AVC HD, but with each decision you make, you're giving up something. So obviously with the XAVC, geez, what kind of names are these? Anyway, with the XAVC, you have to take up more file size, right? So it's much bigger size. But with MP4, you're giving up a lot of quality. I would suggest nobody shoot an MP4. You don't need to shoot an MP4. So then that leaves you with the option of the AVC HD. Now with the AVC HD, you do kind of run into, you can only shoot in either 24 frames per second or 60 frames per second. It has different options within the two, but really those are the only options you have. And if you're looking for the highest quality, then obviously again, you're gonna get the XA whatever thing. X Max is what I'm gonna call it from now on, because that just makes it easier for me. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all can see it on the screen. Okay. Now with the X Max, you get to shoot in 24 frames per second, 30 frames per second, or 60 frames per second, and each of those is gonna shoot at 50 megabytes per second. Megabytes, right? Yeah. It's gonna shoot at a higher bit rate per second. So you're gonna get the best quality video regardless of what frame rate you wanna shoot in. Go with that. Unless you have limited file size, then I got it. So to be honest, those are really the main things that you need to know as far as how to get the best quality out of this. Although I am gonna run over some of the other stuff just so y'all can get an idea of some of the other less important but things that you may want to take note of, okay? Make sure you have steady shot turned to on and left on auto. This is pretty much the in-body stabilization, and you want to keep that on so it can help you with photography if you have a little bit of shaky hands, and with video if you have a little bit of shaky hands. It's going to help to reduce and minimize the shake, so make sure you have that turned on. Next thing is the color space. Make sure you leave that at sRGB. Unless you're a professional who's working on a very specific project, that's the only time you'll use the Adobe RGB. Sorry. However, mostly everything else is just going to use the sRGB, so just leave it on sRGB. Auto slow shutter, never turn it on. So essentially what it does is when you're shooting video, if the situation is a lower light scenario, the camera will automatically slow down your shutter to make the image brighter, which sounds good, except for the fact that if you're shooting video, you want your shutter to stay the same, basically because of the 180-degree shutter rule, which to be made simply is pretty much whatever frame rate you're shooting in, your shutter speed should be double it. So right now I'm shooting in 24 frames per second. My shutter speed is 150. It's not exactly double. It should be 1/48, but it only does 1/50. So it's good enough, okay? I could go in more detail about that. If you want me to, leave a comment below. All right, so that's really everything as far as the settings goes. Now let's talk about setting up your custom buttons. I've done a video on my custom buttons before, and a little bit has changed since then, but I realized I didn't actually show you how to change your custom buttons. So now I'm actually gonna walk you through how to even get there, and then so you guys can start changing them. So first thing you wanna do to set your custom buttons, you have to go to menu, gear, little icon thing, and then the 6 number across. So number 6. Now under the custom key settings, I have my wheel set to ISO. So when I rotate the dial, it changes to ISO. I have my custom button 1. I actually just changed this, which makes this kind of awkward. I literally changed it right after I finished recording me doing that in the video. I'm just gonna tell you now, my C1 is now set to the autofocus. That sounds wrong. Autofocus on off switch. So my C1 is the autofocus switch. C2 is actually my focus magnifier. So it'll punch in so I can get my focus in when I'm shooting in manual. C3 is still the same, still record. C4 is now the trash can thing. C4 is now my picture profile switch. And the rest is the same. So as we continue, the rest hasn't changed, I hope. So the center button is still the focus magnifier, just because I didn't find something else to do with that. Left dial button is to set my audio record levels. When I was recording straight off of my camera, I would check my audio levels, so I would have to turn it up or down, so I needed that quickly. I never use that anymore, so that's probably going to change because I don't record on camera anymore. So all my audio is recorded externally. The right dial button is for white balance, and down is to pull up all of my focus settings. And that's pretty much it. And I know this was a quick video, should be short. I say this sometimes and then I finish editing and it's like a 10-minute video again. I doubt this is gonna be a 10-minute video. Should be super quick. The settings that you need here are not that crazy. The Sony has a bunch of settings in there, but really for the most part, there's only a few things that you need to change. I hope you guys liked the video. I don't really have much to do, and as you know, I'm terrible at this YouTube thing, so if you like the video, please like the video. If you have any settings in mind that you think are important and I missed over or glossed over or didn't care about it, please put them in the comment section below. We've been doing a great job as a community of just helping out people who are getting into the camera by giving them information down below, so please do that. And as always, I gave you some tools to create. Now be great. Peace.